is listen.
It's listening. That's it.
Just shut up and listen.
Yeah.
All the answers are right there.
Yeah.
You know, halfway through, I'll go in the back after I've talked to her a little while, and I'm modern, and you can tell, no, she's not.
That was an amazing conversation, wasn't it? David Beahm, who for us has been one of the ones from the beginning when we said, okay, this is the space we want to go after. David Beahm was one of those first things we saw, people we saw, the work we saw, we went, ooh, who's this?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and if you're somebody who wants to get into the luxury space in the wedding world, like this is the person to listen to. He lays out the entire key to success and also the joy of the job after a long career. All the ins and outs of how, his career and how you get there is fascinating and so helpful for me to just like learn from this.
It's like coming off a 30, 40-year career from somebody who's at the very top of it, right? The very top. Like it doesn't get any better than this conversation. Again, we learned so much.
And I will say, David Beahm gives the best definition I've heard yet about what luxury is. You're going to want to hear it.
Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of the Business of Luxury Wedding podcast. We have a really exciting one today. It's the incomparable Mr. David Beahm.
You don't want to compare.
No, truly. What a pleasure to have you on, David. Thank you for your time.
It makes me happy every time I see you guys.
Oh
so
gosh.
I'm very happy to be here.
I'll tell you this, the first person's work I saw maybe like 12 years ago when we started stepping into this space was your work. And it's the first time that I told James back then, I'm like, this is at another level. Because we'd seen budget being thrown at flowers, like, ooh, that cost a lot. With your work was the first time I looked at floral design. I'm like, there's balance, it's so intentional. It was just so, anyway. So that's my first memory of you.
Yeah, because I don't necessarily love being called the F word because we have to look at so much more than just some, where do the flowers go?
No, for sure.
And what is the camera going to see?
Yeah.
And that's, I think it was Roy Yohai. One day I was like, can I see you at the Hopa? I want you to feel the light to see if it's going to work for you. And he was like, whoa, what? Yes, it's very important that your photos come out. Can I show you the light levels? And I think people don't think about that.
No, but we were having this conversation, sorry, James, with Rishi as well, and saying, up until a certain point, we'd come into a room and you'd go, oh, look, details, we'll just shoot it. Yeah. But then we get to this level of design and thought and intent, right? Now I step up to you, to Rishi, or to whoever and say, hey, tell me how you see this. You know what I mean? Tell me more about what you did here as opposed to just going, ooh, details.
Yeah.
So that's...
Well, we have to think about, so many levels in the room and what happens when you're sitting here and what happens when you look up and what happens when you walk into the room and what happens when you're on the dance floor. What do you feel? Because our clients are so discerning, we have to discern.
Can we take a quick step backwards? And I want to ask you, your company name is David Beahm Experiences. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us, just start with like, what is it that you do? Obviously, for those who are watching that might not know, but this idea of David Beahm Experiences, because you're a designer, you do all these things, you're floral, but David Beahm Experiences, and along with that, can you tell us a little bit about your process?
Yeah, I think I'll back it up just even a little further and say, so it seems to me on the East Coast of the U.S. and the West Coast of the U.S., there are two different sort of schools of thought. Mostly on the East, we have people who are planners who hold hands, deal with all the families, deal with the people, deal with the dynamics. I deal with more of the art direction. I always explain this to people. I'm like, I don't care how your aunt gets to the wedding. I don't care where she's sitting. I don't care how she gets home. I care that she has a great time. What does she experience? What does she see, smell? That's my job. And I think there are people who combine that job on the West Coast more than we do here. But I think there's so many, especially in New York City, there's so much politics that has to happen. I can't be worried about the flowers that didn't come in on JFK flight and your aunt. So that's so I kind of focus down and worry about the experience in an evening and what people see and feel.
Yeah.
And that's because we used to be David Beahm Design, but we didn't say what we designed, and it not necessarily does experiences say what you're going to experience, but I think it's a little broader.
Yeah. So I mean, I hear a lot of intention, like just in that name, and like what you're saying is like even down to what people smell. What does that look like from going from like a client comes and sits with you and goes like, I want my wedding to be this. What does your process look like to try to understand that vision, take it into your creative brain, and then make it an experience?
Well, I think in this business, it's really easy to go, oh, what do we have in the warehouse? What can we use in the warehouse to make this? And that's not how I approach it. That approach is a much better business model.
Of course. Yes, much better. Yeah.
You can use what we have to rent and all that. So from my point, the first thing I say when a bride comes in here is talk to me. And I shut up because they wouldn't be here if they didn't already know who I was.
So good.
Or didn't know what we can do for them.
Yeah.
And it's, I know by now it's cliche to say, I want to tell their story, but I got to really figure out what's going to make them.
Yeah.
I was engaged and someone from Louis Vuitton was talking about what is luxury. And I've heard people since then using it. It is surprise and delight. After talking to a bride, what can I do to surprise and delight her?
Sure.
Right before we were talking about this here, back here, she was like, why are you out here? You're Florida. Experience. Sean Connell took this. And the dress couldn't just be sitting on the steps. It had to have balloon. It had to have lightness. And she was shivering and Sean was trying to get the shot. So I think that's part of luxury is stepping in and making it happen. And she'll never forget that. Yeah. And I just went out and did like this with the dress.
Yeah. It's that ability to feel something from it, right? From the experience or from the image, and not just look at it and go, ooh, pretty, which is fine. Pretty is pretty, beautiful is beautiful. But when it takes your breath away, like we often talk about this between like any luxury property and say an Amman. They're all nice, but Amman's going to just give you a twist. They're just going to give you like, you're like, ooh, that's really nice mango, like it's just going to be a little.
Well, the Amman in Siem Reap, I was there and I arrived and she was like, I want you to have a nice dinner and I want you to go to bed early. And at 4:30 a.m., I want you to be standing in this spot and a guy is going to pick you up and we're going to take care of you. And that's all I knew. So at 4:30, I'm on a tuk-tuk going through into the jungles of Cambodia going, what the hell? Yeah. I was the only one in that temple at sunrise.
Sure.
They walked me in the back door.
See?
And I was That is surprise and delight, gentlemen.
Yeah.
I was the only one there. And then he said, can I show you something? So we walked to the front of the temple and he opened the door and there were 10,000 people standing in front outside watching the sunrise from outside the temple. And I was the only one inside.
Yeah.
That is an experience. And the experience just continued to unfold during the day.
Yeah, it's
And
just brilliant.
It's about what can, and I don't like to say unexpected, but I think surprise. What is going to delight and what is going to give you that, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. And that's what I try to do here.
I love that.
It's incredible.
It's interesting you say that. Like Delta, we fly Delta.
Mm-hmm.
They have a program called Surprise and Delight, which is really cool. I was taking my wife to the Caribbean and we landed in, I don't know, I think Dallas maybe. And I was getting off the plane and there's a gentleman standing there with my name on it, like with an iPad with my name on it. I was like, I'm James. Like, he said, come with me. And he took us like out the side door of the airplane, down the stairs, into a Porsche, and just drove us across the tarmac to our next gate.
Yeah.
And, you know, we weren't late. It was just this special, you were special.
Yeah.
I was both surprised and delighted.
I think they did that for she and his family. They were going on vacation and they just showed up and whisked them away. And that's what it's about. That's what we crave. We want to be happy.
Is there something that you do? Because we talk about this. We get this question a lot. Like, what is luxury? How do you elevate the experience? Is there something particular that you do, without telling all your secrets, that you do to try to dig down into that client's desires that they may not even know they have?
The secret is listen.
It's listening. That's it.
Just shut up and listen.
Yeah.
All the answers are right there.
Yeah.
You know, halfway through, I'll go in the back after I've talked to her a little while, and you know, I'm modern, and you can tell, no, she's not.
Yeah.
So I go back, and I kind of kid, it's the fabric Rorschach test. And so I'll pull some very modern fabrics, I'll pull some very traditional, and pull in between. And Miss Modern is always going to go for that traditional brocade, you know. But I can hear it in her voice, and I knew that. But you said modern. I know you don't mean modern. I'm going to show you modern, and then I'm going to show you what you want.
Yeah. But that confidence we talk about, that comes from competence, right? Years and years, you know what to, and you listen to her, and then you pick up on something very quickly, and you go, this direction. This is how I do it. And even from a sales perspective, it makes you better. It takes the pressure off the meetings. You don't have to do a song and dance for them. You just listen. You take genuine interest, and they give it all to you, all of it.
Yeah, all of it's there. They wouldn't be in front of us if they didn't know who we were and what we could do for them. Yeah. And that's I hate the word sell and sales.
That's not this category.
It is. We all have rents to pay, and we all have lots of salaries to pay. You got to sell to make the engine doesn't run without gasoline.
No, it does not.
But, you know, it's about how you want getting the gasoline to be a pleasant experience and not have the little plastic gloves that they have.
Yeah. But okay. So David, let me ask you then, I'm curious, just your background a little bit more. How did you end up here in New York City or on the top of the world, top of the game? What's this journey?
I was a band director, choir director in Virginia, and had just turned 30 and said, well, I should maybe get a master's. What should I get a master's in? And I was like, oh, I was just telling this story yesterday, and I don't tell it too often. It dates me. This is old. I took my students to see a production of Merrily We Roll Along at Shenandoah University. And afterwards, I had just decided I wanted a master's in musical theater. I had no idea what that was, but I thought that sounded like fun. And I went up to the director who was standing in the lobby afterwards. And I said, if you wanted a master's in musical theater, where would you go? And he said, San Diego, and walked off. And that was before the interwebs. And so literally the next day, I picked up the phone and called the operator and said, give me the numbers of every school in San Diego that has a music or a theater program. And then I called all those people and found out who had a musical theater program. And I was one of 4 people out of the United States accepted.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. That's
it's just about jumping and just doing and seeing if it works out. And if it doesn't work out, you go do something else.
yeah.
And apparently it worked out for a time.
Well, and so I was accepted. I was making, I think, truly $11,000 a year on a 12-month contract as a teacher, which is shameful.
Yeah.
And I worked. I had classes from 8 a.m. and I would go till like 9 o'clock at night with rehearsal. And made $11,000 a year. So when I got accepted to this school in California that Mountain Boy David in Virginia had to look to see exactly where San Diego was and how to get there. And so I drove my Isuzu Trooper and I talked Jeremy, one of my students had just graduated, into riding with me. So I'd have somebody on the drive across. So I would have a car in California. I broke down 3 times. The engine blew up. I took it to the top of Pikes Peak and blew the engine.
Yes.
By the time I got to California, I had no money left. All my savings was gone. I literally had to replace the engine in like Colorado, and the water pump blew in Bakersfield, and a tire blew someplace else. So I dropped him off the airport, and it was the day before classes started. I went to my advisor's office and said, okay, I'm here. I have no money. I don't know what I'm going to do. I know I'll work it. I have survived off Kraft macaroni and cheese before, and I'll do it again. As I was sitting there, San Diego Opera called and said, we need someone who knows music and education. And she said, he's sitting right here. You're going to hire this guy. I'll send him right down. I had been in California for 1 day. And that, my friends, is how the universe works. If you just put it out there and know, not hope, know that it's going to work. Wow. And so I ended up working with, that was 1990. So I was with San Diego Opera from 90 to 95 and worked with almost every major musical artist of our time, because I ended up being, because of my experience as a teacher, I ended up being I wrote an education show that toured for 5 years for the opera, and it got a grant and it had traveling sets and the whole thing. But I was the liaison between the administration and the unions.
Okay.
And what I learned about how to handle this business, not only did I learn lighting and production and their stage crew, they built the sets there, and the stage crew was just phenomenal. It was like the number 5 opera in the world at the time. And I learned about production, but I learned how to handle people.
That's what I was going to say.
And how to walk into the Metropolitan Opera and deal with the unions.
Sure.
There's a reason I think there's only 3 florists in production people in town who get to go into the Metropolitan Museum. And we're one of them because we understand production and timing and how to talk to people and how to respect.
Yeah.
You know, if we say we're going to be there at noon, we're there at noon and we're ready to go.
Yeah.
So was this the divergent path then? Like you stopped doing the master's degree and just did the work, or you did both simultaneously?
I got the master's. My whole goal from then was to move to New York and be on Broadway. When I finally got here, well, I got my master's and went to work full time with the opera. That's when I got into that liaison position, and it was truly like amazing. I was working with Renee Fleming and Richard Bonning, and Dame Joan Sutherland came to my birthday party, and Pavarotti and everybody.
Yeah.
Wow.
But one day, Ian Campbell, the artistic director, called me in and said, "You're not going to go any further here, and you have hit a glass ceiling in San Diego. Please get the hell out of here."
Yeah.
Just go do something. And I did one television gig and got an agent out of it. And she was like, "If you're going to make a go of this, you're going to have to move to LA." And I'm like, well, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back east.
Okay.
And I got here and I just haven't auditioned. And I took and here's another thing of the universe. You wanted a story, baby. I'm giving you
the story.
Yeah, we love it.
We love it. It's so good.
I was hired as the company manager for New York City Opera's traveling company and got that on the road. And if you know me, I'm a nice guy. I am not your logistics manager. I'm not your numbers guy. I can handle people, but the company manager needed to do book work too. And that's just not quite my thing. Yeah. So I took them on remember in 90, so it would have been 96 when New York was snowed under like 2 feet of snow or something, and people were skiing down Lexington Avenue. I took the next day after that snowstorm, I took 3 buses, 2 tractor trailers, and a sleeper bus on the road, and we went north to Canada in that the next day. And I was on the road for 4 months.
Yeah.
And I came back and I went in to quit, and they were like, "Oh, good, because you're fired."
This is not your thing. Yeah.
I was like, I don't think this is my thing. And they were like, no, it's not. No. And that was a wonderful opportunity for the universe to push me out. And I was on this new thing called AOL. I had gotten a job at a flower shop on 53rd and 8th and was running that because my godfather was a florist here.
Okay. There's some background.
Yeah. This is him. You can tell where I get my flashy jackets from. But this picture hung in his shop. And just for me to see, that's Mrs. Carter. And to see a picture of him and this lady I saw on television and knew that he was at the White House doing decorations. It was somebody from Luray, Virginia can really make it. And then when I got to do the decorations 3 times at the White House, just knowing that
the circle,
came around. Anyway, so I learned the basics of floristry from him. I didn't know what to do. I didn't really feel like going on auditions, so I started managing a flower shop on 53rd and 8th, and I was on this thing called AOL and started talking about yoga and the tantra to some guy, and he was like, "Oh, we're in the same neighborhood. Let's have dinner." And it was Philip Balloon, who was one of the he would kill me if I said this. One of the grandfathers of special events. Robert Isabel, Paul Bott, and Philip Balloon worked for Rennie and Reed.
Yeah.
Rennie Reynolds at the time. Reed is Rennie's nephew.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we started talking, and he was like, well, this is what I do. And I didn't know what special events were.
Yeah.
And special events flowers. And he was like, come work for me this weekend. And the next week he brought me in, and I did what I do, and he hired me on the spot, and I ran his flower department without knowing what in the living hell I was doing.
What did that feel like for you at that moment, David? Was it like okay, this is my thing now? I mean, life doesn't really or was it more like a better job? I like this more.
Well, this is cool, and this could be something. And I had become good friends with a couple, and they just kind of pushed me and kept going, I bet you could do this. I bet you could do this. And finally pushed me out the door one day and said, why don't you do this?
Okay.
And I started it on a second floor railroad on 43rd Street.
That's
and
so
would sleep under the flowers on the floor. And here we go.
So, David, I would love to ask, there's a designer out there right now listening to this. There's a planner designer, depending on what coast they're on, listening to you talk. And I hear you saying like pivoting, being bold, but is there, if you could say one piece of advice to that designer who's trying to elevate, trying to get to the next level, or maybe they're just trying to decide, is this something I want to get into? Like, what do you think is the key to your success?
Yeah.
Listen, say yes.
Tell me more about say yes.
Yes. I have a client whom I've just become friends with. It was back in 2008. And this guy is literally on the board of the world. If you have a board, you are on it. And I can't say who he is and what he has done, but you would recognize everything that I said he's touched because he has turned it to gold. And I was doing his son's wedding, and I was like, it's getting really rough out here. And I'm thinking maybe the phone's not ringing. I don't know what's going to happen with the economy. Should I shut this down? He said, do you want me to come by and look at your books? And I would love that. And this is, the exalted.
Yeah.
So he came by and literally opened up the books, looked for about 3 minutes and said, shut up, say yes, you'll be fine.
I love that.
He was like, don't look at the profit margins. You need to look at that stuff. Don't look at it.
Outproduce it. Yeah.
Just right now, you can't worry about that. You just have to get the cash flow and you have to get the experience. I mean, that's how I did what I did here. I literally put on my best suit, which was not
not the same suit as today. Yeah.
And went around and knocked on literally every catering manager's door, every planner's door, everyone I could even, again, before the internet, everyone that I could figure out who might want to hire me, and went and sat down and said, how can I do business with you?
Yeah.
What can I do for you? Can I make this easier for you?
Yeah.
That's, and then after you say yes, I think it is about trusting. And I don't know whether you want to call it God, universe, whatever you manifest, whatever that is trusting that it's going to be there. I never trusted money, that the money would be there until one day I just kind of said, you know what? I know we're doing this. I know the money's going to be there. I trust that.
That's powerful.
And it goes, it's never as much as you want.
No, that's a fact.
But, I have never how old are we? 22 years? In 22 years, I have never not paid an employee on time.
Yeah.
1 week we had to ask them to hold their checks until Monday.
Yeah.
And that's so important to me. And
Yeah.
all of our vendors are paid. And I think the reason that freelancers seek us out is that not only do we treat them well, but you submit your invoice on Monday morning, you can pick up your check Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
If you need it. There's no, we're going to hold onto this. Money is what makes this work. And it has to be free flowing. It doesn't, you're not giving it away.
No.
But you can't do this with it.
Yeah, it doesn't have any inherent value in itself, really. The thing itself, yeah, it's useful.
Believe me, anymore, it really doesn't have any inherent value.
Yeah. No, but that's an interesting thing, right? Because we've, like our background, we come from, regular guys' upbringing as well. So I've had no money as a business owner. That's not fun. You're being married, have a kid, you have no money. That's horrible. But you very quickly hit that point where you have a certain amount of money, and honestly, it's more than enough. Because now if you make more money, you don't get more happy. A nicer house doesn't get you more happy. It doesn't. It just doesn't. It's the cliche thing to say, but it literally does not do it. So I love that.
And, I think with the interwebs and all, it's really hard not to compare yourself. And you see, especially now being this age, you see people 24 on Instagram making millions of dollars doing shit that I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, right on.
And I don't even know if you're really making millions of dollars, but it's hard not to let your head go there. It's really important to keep your head where it needs to be, like you said, and go. It's zeros.
Yeah,
I have more zeros today than I've ever had.
Yeah,
it doesn't make me a different person.
Yeah.
Along that line, I wanted to ask you about, and maybe tell a little story. It was about 8 years. Otto's coming to me. He goes like, "Have you seen this David Beahm guy? He's incredible." The story he told earlier. I was like, "No, we should try to meet him." And so there was this guy, David Beahm, that was gracious enough. We came to New York one time 8 years ago. That was gracious enough to let us come sit in his office and have a conversation. And this is the thing that I was blown away by. Like
every once in a while, I understand.
Well, we came and sat in your office. We had a conversation with you. You introduced your whole team. Like there was so much respect. And right before we left, you said, "Hey, it's my birthday. I'm having a birthday party tonight. You guys should come." And that has stuck with me ever since. Like I just met you, and your warmth and your kindness to invite us to your birthday party really struck me as not only did this gentleman take our call and take an appointment with us, but he invited us, like genuinely invited us to your birthday party.
Yeah.
And it really has struck me and taught me that, man, it just doesn't matter who you're speaking with. Kindness and warmth, go a long way, but they matter a lot.
Yeah.
I really think it's got to one, and I was talking to someone like, I don't do referral fees and all that. I knew who was going to be at that party that night. And I thought if there was a possibility of you getting a job out of it, why wouldn't I let you come into that room? Why would I want to not share? It just doesn't occur to me. And I think some people think I'm too nice and I'm not business-like enough. And yes, if you want to look at psychology, I'm a people pleaser. It serves you well, and then it kicks you in the teeth.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But it is who I am.
Yeah.
I'm aware of that. Look, am I kind? Yes. Am I an asshole? Absolutely.
That's not believable at all. Even as you say that, I'm like, whatever, man. I'm sure you are, because everybody that I've met ever that's achieved anything, I always look for it. Where's that edge? It's there. It's definitely there.
It's there.
It's there.
Yeah. And mess with my team and see what you get.
Yeah.
You get redneck David Beahm from Luray, Virginia.
Yeah, but you know what, David, like even you saying that your team is also such a beautiful reflection of all of this, your story, your background, the curiosity to kind of bump into one thing and then to the next, and then the theater and then New York. And then, because your team is like this too, having met a lot of your team members, they truly, they're like this. They're the same tribe of people, creative, beautiful individuals that are kind and just natural hosts and just exceptional at what they do. But this is your team, all of them.
Well, and I do have a mantra. I'm only going to work with nice people. I'm only going to hire nice people. I'm only going to work with nice people, because there's just so much stress and crap that can happen with this. Why make it difficult? Yes, we are a very weird little band of misfits here. Yeah. And I would put this team up against anybody.
Yeah. You guys, it feels like a really well-oiled, like super high-end traveling circus. It's like this guy throws the swords and this guy has tigers and it's like that. Yeah.
Well, you think about what we do. Everything has to be on wheels. We literally have to just pick up everything in the Bronx and put it on a truck and move it to Aspen, or it just does this all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a circus.
Yeah. Beautiful.
You have to have the crazies to go with the circus.
Yeah, but that's part of it, right? That story you kind of talked about that earlier. This whole journey from a warehouse in Brooklyn to a vision, all the way from that to Aspen. And that final moment where, like, I watch you and I watch other designers step in at the end. This is not out of the tights and the running shoes into a suit, and it's that final like just, and it's a beautiful thing to watch, because you're like, there it is. It's that bite of the hamburger where you're like, there it is. This is a good bag burger, or it's not. It's like.
But there's always that backstory that we were doing that huge wedding in Aspen, and it just had been like head down, go, 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 go. And, all of us, all the planners, all the designers always talk about we're getting dressed in a porta potty, because that's just kind of what you do. And I was getting ready. I had to put on my tux for that Aspen wedding, and the heater was going full blast. It was cold outside, but the heater in this porta potty was just going, and I was trying to get into my tux, and I had bought the wrong tux, and I couldn't fit my belly into the tuxedo.
No.
Something had told me that day, why don't you put your black suit in the car? So I literally left the heated porta potty in my underwear, ran and got my black suit, and I was like, this is the height of elegance.
This is the story. Yeah.
That's a good story.
But you make it work, because I had a black suit and a silver tie.
You're covered. Yeah.
Is that part of the surprise and delight? No, but I mean, like, people, like, there's a part of this, like, people don't see the whole backstory, right? The whole back end of this, and all the while you're in a porta potty, like jumping around trying to get a leg in a pant. But you have to produce this thing. That's a lot of stress.
But you've produced this thing, but you also have to go down, stop, be present, be here for these people. Yeah. Here I am. Hi, look at what we did for you. Boom. Yeah. There can't be any,
that energy.
That cannot ever come into it. No one can ever see. That bride did not know that my belly did not fit into my tuxedo.
How do you do that, though? Because a lot of people in that position would just melt. How do you, is there something you do that?
You can't. Failure is not an option in this. Our clients spend so much freaking money there can't be any excuses. There can't be, I had to, can't do it. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Then this is not your game. Yeah.
You said this is what you were going to do for them, so you have to do it. Come hell or water high, you got to make it work. And no one can see you sweat. I don't think there is or maybe there. It is that's what it has to be.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I like that mindset.
Yeah, because all of that sets the scene, right? Like at the Amman you were talking about earlier, them taking you into that temple, they set the scene for the experience of the rest of the week. And I think in our presence, our ability to read the room.
Angkor Wat, that's what it is.
Angkor Wat.
It's just
that one, yes.
Like the light shining through the temple.
No, but we talk about it a lot here, me and James. It's like the biggest skill we bring is not photography. It's the ability to read a room, to connect with people, to feel, oh, mom is anxious, bride is anxious, or like, and to give that confidence to them. You're beautiful. Like, otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, you all know that more, that you cannot ever come at anybody anxious or sweaty or agitated. There is someone we all know that I've seen come at clients agitated, and it just ruined it for them.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
That's not acceptable.
Yeah.
You gotta swallow a lot of bullshit sometime, but
that's the job.
It's the job. You're getting paid for that.
Just on that note, just to clarify for some people listening, because this is pushback we get a lot. People say, I don't want to do luxury weddings or ultra luxury because the clients are jerks and difficult and demanding. And our pushback is always like, no. And our experience is like not at the opposite. So you're shaking your head already. So tell us what you think about that proposition.
I've said it, and it's truthful. The mother of the client of a big wedding we did with Lynn in Colorado, I told this lady, I was like, I don't know what you've done, but I would take a bullet for you. I don't know you that well. Yeah. I just know what type of person you are, and I see what lengths you go to make sure your daughter is happy. In my experience, the more established the money, the more pleasant. They don't want any bullshit.
Totally.
They don't want to be fluffed.
Yeah.
They just want the truth, and they want it steady, and they want to be happy, and they want what they want.
Yeah.
The
luckiest people. Yeah.
I think we're not talking about new money. New money.
No, not new money. Yeah.
But established families, I would work for every day of the week, because just this family that I'm talking about, they're just phenomenal. I've done 2 of the sisters' wedding, and I just text them every once in a while, or send them a little funny video to say hi. And they both have kids, so I now go and I send it to all the bride and groom, and so I now go, Mama, Daddy, because we got
dear to you.
Error, and now they're ours. They're part of our family.
Yeah. It's a real thing. And wonderful people. Like, it happens to us so often, James. Almost every event, we just go like, first of all, the location. Your first experience, like, where are we? Like, this is ridiculous. And then you're like, and these people, like, just beautiful families, like 2 kids in love, like, but it's like you say, David, it's the legacy families, the older money. It's not, new money is different.
Yeah. I think good for you. You worked hard.
Yeah.
Great. How many people just step on to get there?
Yeah.
Now just be and enjoy what your privilege is.
Yeah. And what a privilege to be able to then step into that space with families and just go, they give you so much trust and you're very careful with it. And you're not just there to take photos or put flowers up. You're really like you said, you feel this and you're like, I honor it, It's a beautiful job. Wow.
It has to be incredible.
Yeah.
I wanted to shift really quick and ask you selfishly, because there's a lot of photographers that listen to this. And in some ways, I think of this as like almost a presumptuous question, but as photographers, like what can we do to help you succeed? Like what can we do at a wedding that helps you succeed?
Very few people stop and ask me what angle to shoot the room. What do you want to show? Yeah. For the bigger things, we have started bringing in our own detail photographers, simply because you all can't be expected to stop and get the angle that I want. But if you can ask 3 shots, tell me what you think would be I think that would make all the difference, because then I get the proofs back and go, well, they didn't see the party the way I saw it.
Yeah.
And nobody asked me.
It's such a simple thing, right? It's like a simple question. Once you've asked it, you have the data, and now you can shoot the event, and your brain will just go maybe like this, and then you do it, and all of a sudden, small move.
Well, and I'm going around, but in 1 minute, I can tell you where I imagined this room's picture,
of course,
or this image, and I can tell you very quickly, please don't shoot that centerpiece. I like that one better.
See,
done. That's all I need.
That's it.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's like, I'm so glad you say that, because I wonder if there's just people are either intimidated or overrun, or like they just aren't thinking about, like, he doesn't want to take my time.
It's your job to get the great photos. So why, if 2 people, you don't have to use it, but that person that's the way they thought of that party.
Yeah.
And they're most likely to use that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not saying that you can't not have that conversation and not get great room shots.
Yeah. And aside from getting better groom shots, which you will get, and getting you the room shots you want, I think it just, like, again, speaks to collaboration. It's an opportunity to connect with another person on this collaborative team. Connect with them. Like, it's like talking to your Lyft driver. Like, when have I ever regretted starting a conversation with a Lyft driver? It's always interesting when you go for it. So with the team, like, ask the designer, tell them, we make a point of this, like the chef, everybody, like, bravo, man. Like, this is amazing. Good job. Like, this, wow. That just adds to this environment, which is just wonderful.
Well, and I always try to check with the photographer for the room shot light level is probably going to be different than the entrance light level.
Yeah.
And so I like to have that quickly have that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and having worked with you, like, David, I know that being the photographer, having you stand there and go, take a photo. How's the light? Like, oh, well, the background light is too bright because it's blowing out and you don't get the ambience. Bring it down. Like, even if it's just for the photo, right? Because the camera sometimes sees a little bit different than the eye. And that collaborative process is so great because it doesn't take more than 5 seconds, 10 seconds.
No, just to fix it. And I've now started, I go around just with my iPhone and just take a couple shots just to see how the light level is going to look in digital.
We think we know how you'll answer this anyway, but what do you value the most? What's the thing for you above all else? Life or business?
You know that I value life. I love this business. I love seeing that face when people walk into the room. I mean, that's why I do this. But I also have worked really, 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 really hard in this town. And now it's time to go,
Yeah.
people have weekends.
Smell the roses, David.
People don't work 7 days a week. Wow. I didn't realize that. So I'm working on, let's just say, and you know what I'm talking about. I'm just not ready to announce it yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a really good life ahead of me.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I have one final question for you, because
I that's fine.
I don't want to take too much of your time. You've been so gracious. We get asked a lot about risk, mitigate. Like, how do you take the risk? How do you mitigate the risk? If I have to feed my family, how do I double my prices, or how do I jump into a new market? How have you in your life, in your business, dealt with risk, and how do you look at risk?
How have you not taken risk?
Yeah.
How could you not? You're going to stay mediocre?
Yeah.
Again, trusting the universe will always be there. It may not be there with the number of zeros you want, but those zeros are still there. They'll come down. They'll come at you down the road if you take the risk. If you don't take the risk, it's not going to happen.
Definitely not.
I always say ignorance has been my best friend. If you had said you're going to move to New York and start an events business, what the hell is an events business? And 3 years past the date I opened my business, I did Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas' wedding. And that's what it's about, opening up yourself and taking the risk and just going for it. It doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah.
It just, did you see a little reel I posted a couple weeks ago? It's like, thinking about the thing is not doing the thing. Doing the thing is doing the thing.
Yeah.
And you're not doing the thing unless you're doing the thing.
Yeah. And that's always what it takes, right? Everything you want is doing the damn thing. It's that next step.
Yeah.
Perpetually. There's just no getting around it.
Not thinking about it, it's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
Not posting about it, not posting that you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Here it is. This is what I did. Look at what I did. And it's not yours to judge. It's everybody else's to judge. And you can choose to listen to them or not.
Yeah.
But it must be a creation out of your heart.
Yeah.
And if it is, it can't be wrong. It can only supply your heart and your soul and your wallet.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like in your case, so many others, the same thing, right? It multiplies out to your team and to all these families. It's like it has to us, like James said, that kindness. Yeah. So there's so much more to that. I love that.
Yeah. I think it's just being kind and putting it out there.
Yeah.
And taking the risk.
And working your ass off.
And
yeah.
It ain't going to happen unless you do.
No, it's not.
Yeah, you can thoughts and prayers all you want.
Yeah, no.
It's feet on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just loved this whole conversation. And I feel like it's so simple. You make it sound so simple. It's like a summary of what I've just learned is be kind, listen, say yes, and then go do the damn thing.
Yeah.
It's
I can't imagine any. I don't think it's anything more complicated than that.
Yeah.
I don't. But it always makes me happy to see you guys.
Oh, David, truly, thank you for your time. And truly, every time we see you, it's a true pleasure.
Maybe next May, you'll come to my next birthday party.
Oh, yes. Well, here we are.
Yes. And maybe we'll see you at another birthday party somewhere.
Yeah. Somewhere, somehow.
Yeah.
In this wacky world we call special event.
It's a wonderful world. Yeah. But seriously, David, thank you. We so appreciate you, your time, your knowledge, and just honestly, your career, your life, your work. Like, bravo. All of it. That was terrible. It sounds like you're dying.
I just had my physical this morning, and the doctor was, you look good. You got to lose the belly. See ya.
Yes.
There's always something to work on.
Always.
All right, gentlemen.
Thank you so much, David.